But when I look back over that, and when I look at all the picket lines that I walked in Dayton, Ohio over that 40 years that I was there, and when I look at the large number of people who personally sacrificed themselves, you know, and their families, some sacrificed their jobs in order to make a statement back in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. And, you know, when I look back there now and when I can clearly see that our struggle was not in vain, because many, many black people have excelled up through this system, and they have been put in strategic positions where they have been able to cause a lot of doors to be opened and a lot of windows that we needed to slip under to be left unlocked so that we could maneuver through the cracks and get into certain locations. And do you know that I think all of the suffering that we encountered along the way, I think God permitted us to do some of that suffering, you know, kind of like lift his hedge from around us in order to toughen us up, to be able to deal with the whammies that he knew that he would bring on us in year 2000. Because I'm telling you, the good Lord is allowing some heavy stuff to happen to this world today, and especially America. And we can cope, you know, and especially if we will reach out and touch the minds of our young people and teach them some of the old-fashioned methods of looking and seeing, listening and hearing, and then humbling themselves to whatever they hear and see, and then developing choices based on the realism of things, not some hallucinated thing. And our young people, when I was coming along, were able to look at mama and papa and grandma and grandpa and big mama and big papa, and we were able to take from what they had to offer us that was kind of like valuable, that made good common sense. Even some of that philosophical stuff that grandma and grandpa talked to us about, we didn't know what they meant at the time. They just simply dumped it out there. And we remembered it well enough as time and circumstances and situations unfolded right before our very eyes. We were able to go back then, because we hadn't let it slip completely out of the crevices of our psyche. We were able to go back into our psyches, match what we were seeing or what we were hearing with what Big Mama and Big Papa said, or Grandma and Grandpa said. And then, like a neon sign, boom, it would come like a big light to us. And we would then be able to say, oh, that's what they meant. And then reach back, grab what they had ingrained in our psyches, and apply that wisdom, because that's what it was, planted wisdom, into our actions, into our attitudes, into our behavior, and get over like fat rats. We've got to pass some of that on to our young people now. You can't meet your young people in the door in passing and ask them how do things go in school today, and when they said fine, which most of the time that's exactly what they're going to say, fine, and let that be it. You've got to sit that child down, and you've got to ask that child some questions about their attitudes, about their actions, about their behaviors, about their desires, about their expectations. And then you've got to engage those children with some matched wisdom. You've got to listen to what it is that they say, and then you got to match that to your wisdom. Will it take right then? I doubt it. Can you determine right then that they actually listened to and heard what you said, or that they intend to try and apply that to some of their activities? Probably not. Because it would probably appear as though what you said to them, as my grandmother used to say, went into one ear and came out of the other. But you know, God does not hold us responsible for operating for our children and other offspring. God does not hold us responsible for their behavior, unless, of course, we are negligent and derelict in our responsibility. You know what God holds us responsible for? God holds us responsible for telling them, showing them the example, being there for them, providing food, clothes, and shelter, inspiration for their motivation,